Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Welcome to my live coverage of Rocket Lab launching their first commercial payload on top of their awesome little Electron rocket. This is really exciting. This is definitely easily my favorite black rocket that's currently flying. I think it's super cool. This launches out of New Zealand, which is awesome. This is an orbital rocket. It's capable. It's a small sat rocket launcher. It can lift about 225 kilograms, so what, like 500 pounds or so. They launch it out of their Launch Complex 1 in New Zealand, which is on the northern tip of the Mahia Peninsula, somewhere in New Zealand, probably like 500 kilometers southeast of Auckland or something like that-ish. I'm estimating. But here's the thing. This thing is great. This is about 17 meters tall, which is like 55 feet tall. So it's not very big, 1.2 meters wide, which again is, I don't know, 4 feet, 5 feet wide, whatever, 4 feet. And it's a lot smaller than, say, like a Falcon Heavy. It's even smaller than a Falcon 1, but it's awesome. This rocket just gets me excited because it applies a lot of very 21st century things. Like, its entire body is made out of carbon fiber. That's great. Or mostly made out of carbon fiber composite. So it's super lightweight. That's why it's black, which is cool. You'll see it'll look white on the pad though, because the oxygen, liquid oxygen is very cold. Condensed water will get on there and freeze and turn it to ice, and it'll have this white blanket on it. They didn't paint it white. It just is actually that cold that it now looks white. So it looks black and white on the pad, but it's actually a black rocket. Super cool. I love this thing. Today it's going to be carrying 4 satellites and a technology demonstrator. 2 of them are Spire, Lemur 1 and 2, or Lemur 2 satellites or something like that. Kind of imaging small sats. And then an Irvine CubeSat for and a TIVAC, and then this payload demonstrator that's like a way to deorbit small sats with this like almost little parachute thing, so small sats don't contribute to space junk. So really cool stuff. I'm really excited about this launch. This is easily one of my favorite launch companies that's come around. They have a cool, oh yeah, by the way, they have cool aerospace culture, like cool shirts and stuff like that. These people, I get them, and they get me, and I like them. They make me happy. One of the other things they do that's really cool, their configuration on their rockets are very similar to SpaceX. And that's not like a copycat thing. It's just it makes sense. They 3D print their rocket engines, and they can turn around an entire rocket engine in 24 hours. So it makes sense, like a smaller rocket engine is cheaper and easier to manufacture. So why not use a bunch of small sat or a bunch of rocket engines instead of one big one? That's kind of that seems to be a fairly new space thing. Like, hey, let's make a bunch of smaller rocket engines instead of one big one. And that way we can kind of like bring the cost down, smaller tooling, smaller, we'll pay off our manufacturing materials quicker, and our R&D will be paid off quicker because we'll be producing 9 times the engines by having 9 on their first stage. And then they have a single vacuum optimized Rutherford engine on their upper stage. So this is it's again, very similar to a baby. It's literally a baby teeny tiny Falcon 9 almost, which is great, but it is not and does not plan at all to be reusable. And they have no current plans because this can only take about 225 kilograms into low Earth orbit. So it's, by the time you strap landing legs on there and recovery hardware and all that stuff, you're left with such a small payload, it just really might not be worth it on this scale of a rocket. But eventually, they're going to be, I hope, this is total speculation, I do hope that they start to actually become profitable and then start to, invest more in bigger and recoverable vehicles, because they are killing it with this thing. Real quick, I need to say hi to Chris Harris. Thank you so much. I love you, Chris Harris, and Lemurs rock. Thank you so much for your contribution and tip. Thank you. And Matt, hi, Matthew Taylor. Thank you very much. It's been a while since I've been able to stream, guys. I have let's talk one more thing about the Rocket Lab Electron real quick. The last thing that gets me really excited, they use electronic turbo pumps instead of gas generators. So instead of burning off fuel and oxygen and spinning a turbine, they actually just have a really powerful electric motor that spins the turbo pumps, and then that pressurizes the combustion chamber. And that sounds like in my opinion, That's like the most SpaceX slash Tesla thing you could do, you know, an electric motor. You'd think that'd be something SpaceX would be pursuing, but somehow, you know, Rocket Lab discovered that's a good way for them to go about it. Maybe because by the time you'd scale it up to like a Merlin size engine, it just gets unreasonable. Also, the battery, you know, battery energy compared to rocket fuel energy is much, much, much lower than even a very high powered lithium ion battery. So it's going to take more weight to have a battery with that amount of power than it would to have, say, that amount of energy in gas and prop and all that. So it has some disadvantages, but the cool thing is the upper stage actually detaches some of it, hot swaps some of its batteries. So once the battery banks are depleted, it actually lets go of them and then just lets them fall back and re-enter. So Luke Dawson, hey Tim, love your videos and you've supported me on Patreon. Thank you. Keep going with the videos. Great job. Thank you, Luke. That honestly means a ton. Let's talk about that real quick. I have a couple things coming in the mail that I'm going to be giving away to Patreon supporters. So I've done this before where I have like a giveaway. So when I hit milestones like 500, 600 Patreon supporters, I was giving away pieces of flown space shuttle. Guess what? I'm doing that again. So the sooner you actually start contributing on Patreon. So if you want to help contribute and support what I do on these live shows, also on my produced content, go to patreon.com/everydayastronaut. And there, what I do is I weight it so that the longer you've been a Patreon supporter, I basically take your total contribution, and then whenever I hit a milestone, your name gets put in the hat with that amount of contributions. So say you've been a supporter for 12 months at $1 a month, you get your name put in the hat 12 times for, I'll put it in a cool little frame, and I'll show you guys the cool, awesome flown pieces of space shuttle. So I think you'll like that. It was really popular last time. I also have something really big that I think we're going to give away at 1,000. Little hint. So again, thank you to my Patreon supporters. I've been working super hard. I have like a 35-minute video in the bank that I'll be releasing next week. And I'm about to finish up another one that I'll have to release a week later because I have, again, a few more announcements. If you're European, if you happen to live in France, come find me at an art gallery in Paris on Thursday, the 28th. I have 4 Everyday Astronaut pictures are going up in an art gallery like 4 blocks away from the Louvre. Pay attention to Twitter if you're in France. I'll be posting the location and the time. Come meet me up. Come say hi. I've never had my artwork in a legit like art gallery like this, so I'm really excited. So that's one exciting announcement. Another announcement is I will also be attending Space Fest. I'll be part of Space Fest down in Tucson, Arizona. I think it's like July 5th through 9th. So that's coming up really quick. If you live anywhere in the Southwest, the Pacific Southwest area, take a look at it. It's awesome. It's the biggest gathering of moonwalkers. So there's a ton of awesome, amazing, incredible NASA astronauts. I don't mean this to be at all morbid, but honestly, if you want to meet someone that's walked on the moon, you probably have to go like this year because think about how they're getting very old. And that's sad. It's been 50 years pretty much since we've walked on the moon. So it's 50? Yeah, like 50 years pretty much. So unfortunately, those people are aging and we're losing them. I think we've lost more than half already. So if you want to get a chance to meet a moonwalker, Space Fest is probably your best option to do that. So if you live anywhere near there, please go down there and I will. Oh, we had a holding to adjust some telemetry equipment. All right. Why are my eyes different colors? Because that's the way my parents made me. Holding at T-minus 23 seconds or 23 minutes while we configure a downrange telemetry asset. Okay, we can take a hold. I don't know if it's a full hold, Hopefully they start. I would like if they start streaming so that we could kind of be part of that together. Also, Gary Lane, thank you. Hi, Tim, you're awesome. Love your videos. Have a great weekend. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Oh, and Foxfighter. I love listening to you talk about rocket technology. Well, thank you. I love talking about rocket technology, so great partnership. Neuropilot in our Discord says, and also, by the way, I've always had an exclusive Discord channel for our Patreon supporters. They're the ones that help me, guys. I can't believe how often I'll be scripting a video and I'll be like, guys, quick, someone figure out the exact velocity at which time. Like, I don't want to spend 2 hours chasing a rabbit hole. So these people help me out all the time. So I'll send them a mission of like, someone quick find the separation velocity of an SRB, and before you know it, I have this crack team of awesome people helping me. So thank you to my Patreon supporters. and especially those in our Discord channel. They're like my friends that I talk to every day. I feel very lost when I'm not able to talk to them. So thank you guys. And Neuropilot mentions in our Discord that the turbine wheel is the toughest part of the rocket engine to make. The electric motor for the compressor is simpler. This is true. So the turbine needs to be extremely precise. It's handling insane pressures. As a matter of fact, I believe SpaceX said they're working on 800 bar, which is thousands of PSI of pressure to feed into the Raptor engine. And I think that's going to be the highest pressure that I've ever heard of for any kind of turbine or any kind of gas generator. So the turbine part needs to be really precise. That's one of the most common things to fail in rocket engines, because that thing's spinning at insane speeds, and it's dealing, with like cryogenic temperatures, really cold, but also like really close to really hot stuff. It's just, the tolerances need to be basically perfect on this stuff, and they spin at really high speeds and compress the air, the fuels and the oxidizer, and they have to shove that into the combustion chamber, because the combustion chamber is where those two things combine and go boomy, and then they go out the nozzle. So if the turbines are lower pressure than the combustion chamber, guess what? It's going backwards, and that's not good at all. So those turbines have to be actually, in a sense, almost more powerful than the combustion chamber. They're basically little rocket engines. So the electric motors that are in these Electron rockets are very powerful, and they are capable of spinning up those turbines very, very quick. So really cool stuff. Chris Harris wants to know, please do a special on space junk, Tim. Plans. I would love to do a thing on space junk. I can't tell you how long my list is right now of videos I need to make. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, I've been punishing myself by making everyone... I haven't been making them short anymore. I'm like, I'm just going to script until I'm done. 20 pages later. No, literally 13, 14 pages later. I'm like, oh no. History Soup. Why are older astronauts always slamming SpaceX? That's a really good question. And I'm not going to say that all older astronauts. Some do, though. Here's the thing. SpaceX does things pretty cowboy style in a sense, if that makes sense. Like, they're very rapid to change and evolve, and they do things very non-traditionally. Some people applaud them for it. Some people laud them for it. It's a paradigm shift. It's a new way of looking at rocket technology. Some people call it reckless, and they think it's dangerous, and they think SpaceX is likely, they'll be like, they're going to kill someone, because they don't think they're taking the appropriate steps. They're not slowly evolving. They're very, very rapidly evolving their equipment. And of course, there's a balance somewhere to be had there, because you don't want to go slow and grow stagnant and grow complacent with your vehicles so they aren't competitive and so they aren't continually bringing the cost down and doing new and exciting things. But at the same time, you don't want to evolve so quickly that you're risking missions. Obviously, you guys know, I love space. I love spaceflight. I'm not going to say that I love I love ULA, Rocket Lab, SpaceX, Blue Origin, Orbital ATK, who's now Orbital AT, or Northrop Grumman Space Division or something now. I honestly love it all. They all have their pros and cons. We don't need to be tribalistic and just love one and hate the other. I'm not about that. I'm go everybody. We're all in this together. But of course, that being said, you can obviously criticize. And I do think SpaceX in the past has pushed the envelope too far. For instance, I don't think the CRS-7 mission, when they lost the upper stage on ascent, that was sort of almost not their fault as much, because it was a supplier that was providing them struts that were not manufactured correctly, and they were not up to the specification that SpaceX gave them. So that manufacturer, in my opinion, is to blame. That wasn't SpaceX's problem, in my opinion. That's kind of dishonest business making for that company. But what I do think was a little bit reckless was playing around with extreme cold cryogenic fuels to the point where it actually broke up the carbon fiber weave on their COPVs, and that's what happened with Amos 6. But at the same time, no one knew that was a possibility. It was a new failure that no one in the history of spaceflight had ever experienced. So to say they're being reckless, they're pushing the boundaries. And I think any new rocket company that's pushing the boundaries that much is going to experience new failures. So far, they've, that's the only thing I can say, is that they're pushing the boundaries. Then you can interpret that. So a lot of risk-adverse people will say that's a terrible thing. But a lot of us people that are excited for change and excited for the future of spaceflight to become cheaper and more readily available, to me, pushing the boundaries is a good thing. As long as you're not putting life at risk. And obviously, when they start flying humans on their Block 5 booster, hopefully around the end of this year, hopefully they have enough safety contingencies to keep human life safe in the event of some kind of failure. So, also, Luke Dawson, I don't know what to say anymore. Also, do more different aerospace companies, please. Absolutely. I have not seen them go live yet. Are you guys seeing it live? I'm going to try and double check here. I have not. My live stream thing still is not showing up. So I'm going to try and refresh it over here. And then if it comes up for me, then I will pull it up for you guys. I'm still not seeing them live. Not live. Okay. There was a hold. I have them pulled up over here, so I'll let you know as soon as they actually are. And also, I will keep their Twitter open as well. Sorry. You might be seeing random screens here. I'm trying to organize my life here so I can just easily check between their Twitter and that. Okay, so, and also thanks Luke Dawson again, by the way. So there we go. It says it's counting down. Yeah, that's probably that's counting down to their old T-. Yeah. The fault was SpaceX for not following a safety recommendation from the supplier verifying. Ooh, great. You're right. I think you're absolutely right there. Aiden, by the way, in our Discord mentions, that SpaceX was considered at fault because they were not following the safety recommendations by the supplier for those struts for CRS-7 by verifying the test results of the struts. I'm sure they learned their lesson. As a matter of fact, I believe they brought it in-house now. So, yeah. And Northrop Grumman Innovation Systems is the new name of Orbital, formerly Orbital ATK. So, yeah. Whereas I don't have an It's Business Time T. I need one. I need an It's Business Time. Oh, full-blown hold or not. Don't say hold unless we actually have hold. I am so excited to finally... someone mentioned... Luke Dawson says, also do more different aerospace companies, please. I do. I have this video about Rocket Lab. I've done videos about all sorts of stuff, NASA and everything too. And yeah, I at this point I'm probably going to be doing about every other video, like a video about generic, spaceflight or other companies, and then a video about SpaceX. And the reason that I have to do a video about SpaceX literally about every other video is because it changes that quickly, and we have questions come up that quickly. Other companies might be evolving. As a matter of fact, Blue Origin probably is evolving that quickly, but they just don't tell us. So I can't update you every once a month. I can't give you a big Blue Origin update because we just don't hear about it. So guys, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm also just gonna go ahead and pull up. I'm just gonna have a little mini Twitter feed for you guys so you can see that. That way, if this gets updated, we will hear about it. Or I'll just have this here. We know that they have a hold, but we don't know if it's a hold, which would imply a full-blown change. All right, well, and that is also how you get banned. So, let's see. There you go. So, yeah, let me know if you guys have any other questions. Not HODL. You're glad to hear that Orbital ATK, the solid rocket bane of the U.S. space industry, has now been gobbled up by another company that won't actually be making anything. Victory for U.S. astronauts' lives. Well, I don't know, though. So don't forget that Orbital, or I guess now Northrop Grumman Innovation Systems, will be doing an Omega rocket, which is basically the inverse of their Antares rocket. So the thing is, with the Antares rocket was a liquid-fueled first stage, and then 2 solid rocket upper stages. And the Omega rocket is basically the opposite of that. It's like 2 solid rockets, so a solid rocket first stage, basically a space shuttle Castor 400 solid rocket motor, and then another solid rocket motor, and then a liquid. It's actually a Centaur upper stage, basically. It's an RL-10 powered, dual RL-10 powered upper stage, which is basically the exact opposite of their Antares rocket. So I just find that funny. Let's see. Northrop Grumman was also primed for James Webb Telescope. That's Space Telescope. That is true. What's my stance on the ULA Vulcan Centaur? Well, the whole vehicle I think is going to be pretty great. I really wish that they started taking the reusability on it seriously, like right out the gate. I'm a little bit disappointed that they aren't taking their reusability plans of using a parafoil and also reusing the ACES upper stage idea. I think those are really cool concepts, but they're not talking about utilizing it until like 2024. So to me, that's just meh. Come on, guys. Also, Andre, thank you. You think my eyes are sexy. Well, I appreciate that, Andre. What do I think about the Australian Space Agency? Of course, I've heard, and don't know if I've heard or what they'll do with it. I have no idea. They just started a space agency. We'll have to see what their plans are. That's relatively new. That was from last October, September, whenever that was. I do want to mention I have had every day, or Elon Kerman in our Discord wants to know what photos are going to be in. It's not in a museum. It'll be in an art gallery in Paris, and it's going to be 4 of my everyday astronaut pictures from Instagram. So here, we got nothing else to do right now. Let me pull up Instagram.com. So for those of you that don't know, here's a little history lesson. I actually was on Instagram and very active on Instagram way before YouTube for 3 years. That was my whole shtick, was actually an Instagrammer. I'm a former professional photographer, and I was using that spacesuit that I bought as a joke to create kind of funny images, and hopefully educational-ish images. But the thing is, I actually fell in love with spaceflight so much to the point where that's all I wanted to learn about. That's all I was reading about. That's all I was doing anything on. So I just continued to take pictures, but I wanted to help teach people why I was getting so excited. And Instagram wasn't doing it for me. It's really, really hard to teach people something on Instagram. For instance, most of the stuff I'd hide some kind of fact in it, and no one really cared. But the pictures that ended up getting chosen, this is going in that gallery here. Ta-da! It's called Only $1 to Ride. Which one else? They also are having some older ones. I wish I could have suggested this one. This is still one of my favorite ones. This is no Photoshop in this picture. I actually built a wall and put a hole in it because I was challenging myself to not use Photoshop anymore. So this was a photo called I Always Knew What I Wanted to Be, and that's my little nephew in his little spacesuit. He's about to grow out of that thing, though, now. He's probably too big for it. But yeah, so I wish that's still probably my favorite photograph, and I forgot to send it to him as an option. They chose this, though, which is it's just not the same. They also chose, this, which is called Glad I Ordered Extra Long. I was just dog-sitting this dog, and they had no idea that I had plans to put it up on Instagram until all of a sudden they're texting wait, our dog's on Instagram. They freaked out, but luckily they thought it was fun. And then I don't remember what the other one was. There's one more. Oh, I think it's that daydreaming one, the big circle. Let me find it. This one. This is the other one that'll be up there. So if you're in Paris, go find the art gallery that I can't even think of its name. I'll probably just pay attention to Twitter. I'll be tweeting it soon. There you go. That's the history of how I used to be an Instagrammer. Now I really don't use Instagram as much anymore, but I still kind of do. Back to that. All right, so we'll keep that up there for now. And also, Will, you're welcome. Thank you for your tip. And Paul, do I think that Block 5 is really game changer with only up to 10 reuses? Paul, yes. Also, yes, because 10 reuses without refurbishment, don't forget. So currently, the Block 4s and Block 3s that we were seeing be reflown were not only, they were more refurbishable, and they were still probably had the business case of maybe being worth refurbishing. But Block 5, in theory, will eventually be able to fly without refurbishment. So fly 10 times with just some inspections and small hardware replacement if necessary. We had lost a little bit of the heat shield on this one. Let's replace that bit of heat shield. Or we lost, one of the thrusters got a little wonky on the way on reentry or something. Let's replace that pod or something. But in theory, just a set of inspections and they'll be good to refly them, which is amazing. That is game-changing. If they really can demonstrate, they don't have to. They don't have to demonstrate a 24-hour turnaround or even a 48-hour turnaround. But if they can, that's game-changing. That will bring the cost down potentially almost tenfold. If you think of it, not tenfold because the first stage is not the full cost of the rocket. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into it, including range and personnel costs, and the upper stage and the fairing and all the blah blah blah, and the investment of paying off the R&D and all that stuff. But even say if the first stage is a third of the cost of the entire launch process, if they can bring that down by a tenth, yeah, that's game changing. So let me answer a few more questions. Chris, Chicago Boring Company contract for $0. Yowza. I don't know what you mean contract for $0. It was cheap, but it wasn't zero. Your favorite sheepdog? Good question, actually. I meant to bring this up. Thoughts on Trump's new Space Force? What are your thoughts on living through a new space race? And who has the best looking rocket designs, in my opinion? Good question. So honestly, I don't know enough about Space Force to answer anything. People have been asking me to make a video about it, but so far we have a press statement. We don't really know anything. And actually, this isn't that new of a concept. Really, this goes back, there's been some form of Space Force forever that's been wanted. People have talked about doing it. Nixon talked about doing it. I mean, it goes back forever. We really have no idea what this will be, if it's going to be some kind of just basically cutting the Air Force in half so that when the Air Force does space launches, it's now the Space Force, or if it's, who knows? I'm waiting to see what the structure is, waiting to see Congress approve it, waiting to see kind of what it looks like before I actually do a video on it. Because at this point, it'd be me being like, Space Force, no idea. And that would be the video. It'd be about 3 seconds long. So I figure we'll not waste my time nor your time. But I think it's cool. Anything, even if it is, I've always said I'd prefer to see more military spending in space. Because our military budget in the United States is insane. It's like a good chunk of our budget. And if more of that could be directed towards space exploration, even if it is into militarization and satellite, spy sats and all that type of stuff, even if it helps at least provide incentive for companies to go after space flight, that's a good thing in my opinion, because that can still be applied for us humans down here on Earth. It can, bring us more advanced GPS systems. It can bring us cheaper launch costs as people compete for contracts. All that stuff is a good thing. If there's more money in the pot to be grabbed, people will start innovating and bringing the launch costs down. So that's fantastic. So yeah. And also, Michael Halpern says that, yes, of course, the Air Force did recently basically certify the Falcon Heavy for launching heavy payloads, which is awesome because that opens up a whole new market. All right. Tyler Haley, do you think some kind of space railgun that shoots things to a high altitude then uses a kick booster to achieve orbit will ever be a thing? Thank you for the question, Tyler. No. The reason is your track would have to be insanely long. Really, really, really long. Because if you get any kind of speed that's enough to really matter out of a railgun, you'd have to do that in the atmosphere, of course. And the atmosphere and speed equals heat and friction. And so, say, really the biggest thing with getting into orbit is gaining velocity. It's not gaining altitude. Altitude is such a minute, for instance, I just learned this today, the space shuttle, when it was in orbit, if it wanted to lower its altitude by from 300 kilometers down to 30 kilometers or something crazy, the lowest point in its orbit, it only needed to change its speed by 1%. And it went from 300 down to 30. It's because really the orbit can go all the way down to the center of the Earth, can be how tight your orbit can get. And, we just happen to have the Earth is 8,000 kilometers or something wide. So the orbit, it only takes a small change to bring that, we're just skimming the surface at low Earth orbit. And so in order to get out of the biggest part is gaining that velocity. You have to go 17,500 miles an hour, 27,000 kilometers an hour in order to get up to or 28,000 kilometers an hour, in order to get up to orbital velocity, to stay in just low Earth orbit. And so if you're going to gain any significant velocity at sea level, or even say a mile up or something, that track has to get like out of the atmosphere basically, because otherwise, say you're going 5,000 miles an hour at sea level, you know, by the time that railgun ends at 1,000 feet long or 2,000 or 3,000 or whatever, a mile long or 1.6 kilometers long, say that's how long your track is. That's a very, very long track, by the way, to be launching a sled with a rocket on it and stuff. And say at the end of that, you got it up to, yeah, we'll say 5,000 kilometers an hour. Sure, 3,100 miles an hour. At that altitude, at a mile up, you're going to be pretty hot and pretty spicy, and it's going to experience a lot of friction. And then say you get to the end of the rail and all of a sudden you try to light up the engine and you have some kind of failure, dead. There's a beautiful thing about, and what did you gain? You gained a few thousand kilometers an hour. You gained a mile in altitude, and now you have all the risk. To get that first mile and that extra little bit of velocity would just mean a little bit longer, taller rocket. There's very little trade-off potential. So that's my rant on that. There's a reason it's not done, and a lot of it's complexity, and then yeah, it just doesn't really pay off. You know, it's a good thing to hold the rocket down, make sure it's ready to go before you let go of it, as opposed to throwing it off a giant catapult. So sorry, that was a long rant. Alpha, do I think Soyuz will phase out anytime soon? Yeah, I think Russia has plans. They're phasing out the Proton rocket. We talked about that in Discord. And then I think, you know, the other thing that the other thing is that they are working on a new human-rated capsule and a human-rated rocket, I believe. So I do believe Soyuz will get phased out sometime. And Alex, glad to see the first commercial launch for Rocket Labs being streamed by me. You're welcome. At work, but still listening. Well, thank you, Alex Tutt. I appreciate the tip, and I appreciate you saying hi. Yeah, I'm really excited. I love Rocket Lab. I love space. Is that okay to say? I love space. Guys, also it's getting super hot in here because it's, you know, summer. I'm going to turn on the air conditioning. I'm sorry if you hear a little hum now. Just warning you. So the launch takes place in New Zealand, but it's currently experiencing a hold, which, let me see if I can... yeah, last we heard, they were holding it T-minus 23 minutes, and that was about 30 minutes ago now. So we're just kind of waiting. We'll see. So, yeah. All right, so the Whovian. Tim, you rock it. Thank you for rekindling the space lover inner. Kidding me. I have your Falcon Heavy Flatiron building as your wallpaper. Stunning. Awesome. That's what it's all about. For me, in most of my adult life, I didn't care at all about space. I had totally lost interest. You know, when I was a little kid, of course, everyone loved space as a kid. Everyone, you know, I grew up watching the space shuttle. You know, not really watching it. I don't think I ever really watched a launch when I was a kid. But I had Space Shuttle, you know, a poster and like bedspread and stuff like that. I liked it. I had Space Shuttle Legos, and I still do. But I lost interest. And for me, I started to just find this new space stuff is exciting again and got me reinvigorated. And I just absolutely got hit over the head with how exciting this stuff is again. So I'm really glad that that's resonating with other people, because this is it. We're finally in that future era that we were kind of promised, I think, in the 70s. We're finally getting to that point where spaceflight is becoming inexpensive enough. Spaceflight is becoming, you know, it's the 21st century, baby. Like, we got good technology now. Let's use that stuff. Let's get out there into the cosmos, and let's unite humanity under a big effort to go explore space. That's what it's all about for me. So, there's my rant. My spaceflight rant. Your favorite sheepdog. What about the new space race and rocket designs? Oh, that kind of goes back into, sorry, I didn't, who was it? Your favorite sheepdog also asked me about favorite rocket designs. Oh, in here, did ask again, your favorite sheepdog. Same person twice. And rocket designs. So, the new space race is a win-win-win-win. There's obviously a need, and there's obviously new markets opening up that is spawning this small sat launch market. It's spawning, you know, advanced reusable rockets. It's lowering the cost of space. I think my favorite designs, so, hold on, real quick, James Huffman, I do want to check that for you while I'm talking. So, honestly, you do, how close is New Zealand to the, yeah, New Zealand's actually not that close to the equator. I didn't realize that. In my head, it's like super close to the equator. We'll get to that in a second. But I think my favorite designs currently, are fully reusable vehicle concepts. So obviously the BFR, SpaceX's big Falcon rocket, is the first and truly, I think, actually being worked on and tooled and designed realistically to be fully reusable. It takes a big vehicle to have any kind of substantial payload when you're using a fully reusable vehicle concept. To me, that's a huge one. I do like air launch concepts. I really like Zero to Infinity has this cool air launcher called the Blue Star, which I need to do a video about. I really like those guys. It's a cool balloon launch system that also has like tordial engine designs and a big fat payload fairing, and it's cool. I think that's cool, but I love reusability. I love space planes too. Give me those space planes. There aren't any. I like Skylon, and I don't want to get absolutely murdered for saying I potentially don't like Skylon, but the Skylon is a single stage to orbit, air-breathing rocket space plane, ticks off all the awesome SSTO boxes, but it's been in a concept for like 30 years, and they're working, or maybe it's 20 years, but still, they've been working on that Sabre hybrid breathing engine that can take in oxygen out of the atmosphere and then closed cycle loop, turn it into a rocket engine once it gets up to speed and altitude. It's a really cool concept, but there's still a lot of technology they're going to have to prove and demonstrate before that thing flies. So it'll be a little bit of time, but those, I would love to see. I would love to see like a space shuttle that was the space shuttle basically, and then a bigger space shuttle for the first stage, like 2 space planes, and the first stage comes back and lands in the second. I think that'd be cool. We'll see. So, James, isn't New Zealand a bad place to launch a rocket? Don't you want to be close to the equator? The equator is advantageous, but not as advantageous as you'd think. It can add up to, I think, like 500 meters per second of delta V or something, like a percentage, maybe 3 or 4%, 3% maybe, percentage improvement in if you're going in a perfectly equatorial orbit. But, not all orbits are equatorial, so you don't gain all that velocity along the equator. So say you're doing a polar orbit, it doesn't matter. And as a matter of fact, New Zealand is, I think, the biggest range from where they're at to be able to launch on different orbital things. What's that? Oh, I'm blanking because it's Friday night. Orbital stuffs. Can't remember. So yeah, it is. I mean, think about it. Florida's not actually that close to the equator either. When you look at Florida, and especially when you look at, like, we have a launch pad in Alaska too. So yeah. So yeah, yes and no. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with you guys. Christopher, thank you for the tip. And also Steven or Stefan, thank you for the tip. Pone, do I think solid hydrogen would be the next thing for rocket engines or any other potential fuel source for next rocket engine design? Oh, solid hydrogen would be... It'd be game-changing. Like a piece of solid hydrogen the size of a fingernail would be able to power an entire rocket. Like, it's insane. The problem... And the cool thing is, in theory, it's a pretty hypothetical, hard-to-produce thing, but in theory, you can compress hydrogen down to a solid, which I think we have observations of it being a solid on Jupiter, or data that suggests solid hydrogen. And I think we can maybe replicate it in a lab, but Loopy in our Discord says, oh yeah, inclination, by the way, thank you. So Loopy in our Discord says, we still haven't quite figured out metallic hydrogen. It has to be compressed down like crazy, but the cool thing is once it does become, in theory, a solid, then it keeps that energy. So you put an insane amount of energy in, so you might have to use these big like hydraulic pumps or lasers or something on the ground to produce a ton of energy that compresses, but it stays inside that solid hydrogen. So then you can use all that basically with an insane amount of power output. So a lot of energy density. So it would be very promising, but that's something that is so far out there. Just like fission. I love that stuff, but I don't want to rely on that for my plans for spaceflight. Like, I don't want to be like, all right, we'll have solid hydrogen here in 10 years, so I'm just gonna plan to build my rocket around that. Like, let's wait until we have it and start developing systems built around any hypothetical thing like that. That goes for anything. That goes for aerospikes. People were yelling at me for my single stage to orbit video, like, what about aerospikes? What about it? Yes, I know aerospikes exist. Have they ever flown on an orbital rocket? Have they ever gone transonic? No, they haven't. And until one does, I'm not going to utilize that in a demonstration in Kerbal Space Program. There's a reason we haven't used it. There's still things to figure out. Same with nuclear engines. We got really far along in the NERVA program with nuclear-powered engines. They're extremely efficient. We pretty much could produce one and fly it tomorrow, but we still haven't. There's still a few hurdles we have to figure out. Anything like that. I'm a big fan of using what you have and advancing materials and making plans around that. So when people use hypotheticals, I like to just kind of, yeah. All right, so there's my rant. Fintan, big up from Dublin. Howdy and thank you. Thank you so much. I do love Ireland. And thank you for all you do, BSG74. I bought your Falcon Heavy poster and you love it. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was young as well. These are exciting times for us outer space nerds. I 100% agree. And thank you for your contribution. Kaylee, orbital inclinations. Thank you. I can't believe I was just completely blanking on that. So thank you very much. Luke Dawson, it's business time. You live in Australia and you don't know what they are doing with the Aussie Space Company. No one does yet, but we're excited. Welcome to the We Have a Space Agency Club. Very exciting. Mike, is there any objects orbiting clockwise? Yes. I believe Iran's missiles launch clockwise. They launch west, which is crazy. And that's because that's the only place they can launch from that doesn't fly over neighboring countries. So, yeah. They won't allow serious nuclear material in orbit. Yes and no. There's going to be nuclear propulsion, in my opinion, someday. But not until we have a launch vehicle that's, like, crazy reliable, probably. And until we can assure that there's no danger to those of us on Earth. Ooh, we've gotten aerospikes supersonic by strapping them to SR-71s. It was called Laser. Loopy. Man, I love Loopy. You've just been floating my boat lately, Loopy. This is great. I did not realize we actually went transonic and went through supersonic by putting them on an SR-71. That is really, really cool. Israel, not Iran. Thank you, Israel. Yeah, thank you, Fell Knight. Israeli satellites launch west to avoid Iran. I've got it backwards. Sorry. Yeah. So there you go. That's the ones that go backwards. So, also, I think people were wanting to know how Rocket Lab ignites their engines using lasers. I'm pretty sure if you ever seen like laser torches, like laser lighters, they're basically just like a hot laser. It would be a pretty effective way to light stuff. So I think that's what they use. Lasers. So yeah, so I hope, have we heard anything from them yet? I assume that my Discord will be keeping close eyes on their Twitter feed. I really hope we still have a launch today because I'm quite busy tomorrow at this time. And then I'll be busy I can't spend every night in the next 2 weeks trying to live stream this either. So I just really hope that it goes. So yeah, and Joseph, thank you. Can we expect a collaboration with Scott Manley, SciShow Space, or Smarter Every Day? That's a good question, Joseph. I love doing collaborations. It's hard as a creator to find people that you totally have mutually beneficial, resources to help them out with. I'm a really small creator in the creator space, and I think I'd have a hard time getting to collaborate with someone like Destin from Smarter Every Day. But I would love to. Oh, hold. Apparently, where are you seeing that? Wait. Why do you... Hang on. Oh. Where did you see this at, Space Kyle? Launch Library. I don't trust Launch Library on that yet. I have not seen... Yeah, nope. I'm not saying hold yet. I don't believe it yet. I'm holding off. I'm waiting. Twitter will be the best way that we are updated, by the way. So, no hold. I'm staying here, guys, until we figure it out. Yeah, I'm waiting. So, yeah, Joseph, if you guys want me to collaborate with someone that you really, really think would be a good collaboration, let me know, and then let's all tweet at this person until they say, yeah, let's do it. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Twitter from Beck, just holding for a few minutes. Check out some downrange tracking assets. Thank you. That's probably the same thing. He probably retweeted the Rocket Lab one. I hope they can fit their launch into my schedule. I hope so too, Chris. Yeah, launch. Let's see here. Yeah, they don't want to hold again, remember, guys. Any thoughts on Russia's supposed RS-28 nuclear-powered missile? You know, Gaber, I have no idea, and I will gladly tell you that I have no idea. That sounds terrifying, but maybe good for spaceflight? I have no idea. I'm going to write that down, though. I'm going to close this so you don't see my mess of a life when I try to organize things. And I'm going to put that in my thing to look up for later to maybe make a video about. RS-28 nuclear engine? I have never heard about that nuclear-powered missile. I will read up and report back, maybe, if it's interesting. Maybe we'll talk about that. I'm going to do an episode about nukes. I think that's a good episode to do on. Waiting for Rocket Lab. Okay, I'm just going to go back to their Twitter. I'll pull that up for you guys, too. All right. Brendan, what technology do you think hope Elon is researching in Tesla, SpaceX, boring skunkworks he tweeted about? Is a new ICBM. Okay, I'm checking my Discord. You guys are always very on point. Project Pluto, designed to scare us. Probably. I'll read up on it and see if it fits, but nuclear technology for propulsion makes a ton of sense, so. Yeah. Claims it's uninterceptable. So, yeah. Okay, so by the way, ooh, that's scary. So, Brendan, what technology do I think Elon's researching? So, a skunkworks is hard. There's a lot of those fringe technologies that can be applied to spaceflight, that can be applied to cars and manufacturing. It is hard to tell and hard to guess, what they're up to. That's why it's a skunkworks. If I knew the answers, then they wouldn't be doing a very good job in their skunkworks division. For those of you that don't know what skunkworks refers to, that's Lockheed Martin had a division. I think it was called skunkworks because they originally had a tent next to something that was really smelly. I don't remember what it was. Again, I guarantee Loopy or someone will know exactly what we're talking about. But it was like they were there to just go and chase after the most insane, crazy ideas, and that's what the term skunkworks comes from. But we will see. So I don't know what things like the rocket powered Tesla definitely is probably a skunkworks type of thing. Why not put cold gas thrusters on a car? Really? I mean, genuinely, why not? People were like, it's impossible. There's nothing impossible about compressed air and a COPV and then shooting that compressed air out some nozzles. It's really not that absurd at all. SpaceX clearly has the technology for that. So applying that to a car is not absurd. I do agree there's issues with driving that around on the road. Of course, I don't want someone blasting nitrogen horns in my ears or compressed air that goes 160 decibels next to me, making me deaf and things like that. So there's definitely going to be some considerations that I'm sure they're considering. I love it when people are like, nope, that can't happen because it's too loud. I'm sure they're thinking about that. Whatever. I love when people have such strong armchair. They're just like, nope, they can't do that. Sorry. Oh, are you doing the research? Have you run all the engineering tests? Do you dabble in cold gas thrusters using compressed air through regenerative braking on extremely powerful, electric vehicles? And you're the one doing that research? Or where's your basis for that? Don't have that strong an opinion on something that you're not directly involved in. I get naysaying for people that, are researching something honestly, the EM drive. There's a perfect example. There's people that are probably doesn't work. Here's my results and why I'm seeing it's, having some magnetic interference. Sure, valid opinion, great. There's other people that are like, look, I have this thing on a bench, and I continually am finding this. Cool, that's a good debate. Go for it, people. You guys are doing a great job out there. But why do people just like, nah, can't do it? That just eeks me. I'm such an optimist though, and I'm such like I'll especially I hate to say it, I am an Elon Musk optimist because he continually does things that are like, that's impossible. Oh wait, you put your car in space, and you landed 2 out of your 3 boosters, something that was literally thought to be impossible only like 2 years before that. I mean. And yeah, well, I'm just going to dig a tunnel under the city and create a boring company. Oh, okay, done. Next day, type of thing. Like, it's insane. And to me, why would you doubt someone like that? Why would you doubt someone that has that much clout in engineering and the team and the people that are that excited to work and do these insane things? Don't doubt that man anymore. Don't bet against Elon Musk. All right, so another rant. Sorry. Tory Bruno interview. It's a must. Absolutely, Jeff. I think that's a fantastic idea. I should try to arrange that. I'll actually be out in Colorado, and maybe I should see if I can reach out to him and do a sit-down interview with him. I really like Tory. Tory is a huge space nerd. For those of you who don't know who Tory Bruno is, he's the CEO of ULA, United Launch Alliance, which is the joint venture of Boeing and Lockheed Martin. They make the Atlas V. They're working on the Vulcan rocket. They're kind of, some would consider them the old school rocket company because they are, between the 2 oldest rocket companies, Lockheed Martin and Boeing, really. But he's a huge space nerd. He gets it, guys, and I would love to interview the man. And maybe I should see if that can happen. He's great. Tomorrow on YouTube, TMRO, one of my favorite YouTube channels ever. If you're not subscribed to Tomorrow, what are you doing with your life? Really, what are you doing with your life? They interviewed him probably a year or 2 ago, and it's just an awesome interview. He's just great. And Caleb, what are my thoughts on Northrop Grumman's recent acquisition of Orbital ATK? I think it's a good thing. Northrop is a great aerospace company. I am very excited. To me, I hope that puts a little more money into launch vehicles for Orbital, because Orbital, they dabbled with their Antares and their Omega. I really hope by joining those 2 things, Orbital ATK has... Is that fireworks or lightning? That was loud. Wait, fireworks or thunder, I think. I don't think I hear lightning. Anyway, I do hope that they push more cool innovation in launch vehicles and also in really cool, like, in-space maneuvering orbital things that, like robots and stuff that can fix things in space. I definitely think that's going to be the long play for Orbital now. Northrop Grumman's research innovation or whatever, something. As the favorite sheepdog, as an inspiring photographer who loves your work, do you have any free advice you could pass out? Where do I get my inspiration for your work, and how did you know photography was for you? So I say this applies to everything. Ready? I don't care what you're doing in life right now. My theory has been pursue your passions. I don't care what you're passionate about. Who knew that me loving spaceflight and gallivanting around in a Russian high altitude flight suit that I bought online would turn into any kind of a career? It's the same thing with photography. I loved it, and it just drew me in. And it was, I always say this, if you take a hobby, and if it turns into an obsession, that right there is grounds to turn that into a profession. So I did that with photography. It was a hobby at first. I dabbled, and soon I was like becoming obsessed with it. Nerding out over the mechanics and nerding out over, everything. Like, oh, the depth of field on, at an f1.4 is awesome at 35 million, all this stuff. And a full frame, no. But then, it got to the point where I was like, I can actually make money doing what I love. Why aren't I doing that? So I quit my job with very few things on the books as a photographer. Next thing you know, I had a great career. Shot 150 weddings around the world. Was able to see a lot of great things as a photographer. I loved it. But now this spaceflight stuff took me over so much. I had to pursue it because it was such an obsession that I was like, I don't care what I'm doing. I don't care if I'm like just making dumb YouTube videos. I have to pursue this because I'm just that excited about it. So I hope you guys can find something in your life that, sorry, this is getting into like some emotional thing, but I hope that there's something in your life that just, that calls and beckons you to pursue it. And so if photography is that for you, please do that. If video games are that for you, sure, go right ahead. I don't know, design them, build them, learn how to animate and do 3D graphics and art. I don't care, pursue it. There's nothing you can't do. I quit my job as a photographer to do everyday astronaut full time. I had no idea what I was doing, and here I am being a genuine fake astronaut. I have no idea. So there you go. Is the rocket at Science Center near Pensacola real? Mike, I unfortunately don't know. At Science Center near Pensacola, I am not sure what you're talking about, Mike. I apologize. Yeah, I would love to give you more info, but I don't know. And Alexander says that Russian missile is most likely a myth. Thank you, loosely coupled. Awesome channel. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Liam, as a citizen of New Zealand and a big space fanatic, I am not excited at all about Rocket Lab because they aren't that innovative. I can't even finish that sentence, Liam. They are extremely innovative. They're doing 3D printed rocket engines that can be manufactured in 24 hours. They're using they're the first, I think, the first commercial use or actual orbital use of entirely carbon fiber fuselages and pressure vessels. This is for the whole vehicle. This is huge. This is exciting technology. Sure, it's small scale and it's not being reusable. That doesn't mean they aren't innovative. They're doing some really cool things. Definitely disagree with you on there. You should be very proud to have New Zealand launching the Electron, in my opinion. Broken Life Cycle. What's my opinion on Isaac Arthur? You guys are going to hate me. I honestly have not dabbled in the work of Isaac Arthur. That's... I need to get audiobooks and listen to them while I drive. That's the answer. I will have an opinion, come back to me in a year. Chris Harris, you run like a white-tailed deer in the suit. That sounds about right. Yeah, that does sound about right. Let's see. Let's see. We do have, this will give Rocket Lab a little less than 40 minutes to get off the launch, assuming the issue, because they do only have a 4-hour launch window. So 40 minutes, so hopefully we start hearing from them. I hope they're working the issue. We will see. Joshua Walker, last time I looked up on the M drive, it appears the drive was moving due to the Earth's magnetic field when it was fed electrons. That's exactly what I've heard as well. That seems to be the most recent consensus. Might be the final nail in the coffin for the EM drive. So, it's the first stage of Saturn. Sorry. Okay, I see what you're saying. It very well might be, Mike. I actually am not sure. There are a handful of actual flight hardware, leftover Saturn V hardware, and near Pensacola would make sense because there's that really big. That might be real. I would probably have to just Google search it, to be honest, to see if it's flight hardware, if it's a recreation. So Huntsville in Alabama, Johnson Space Center in Houston, and Kennedy Space Center in Florida all have actual flight-ready-ish hardware of the Saturn V. There's also, I think, a few other pieces that were potential that might have been test units and things like that. 1 hour delay, huh? 1 hour delay. 1 hour delay. Oh, well, now we have 1 hour. The 3 intact Saturn V's are at Houston, Huntsville, and Kennedy. There you go. Loopy, yep. Does anyone know? I would love to get that answer about the one at the Science Center near Pensacola. Well, that's great. So, let's see. Peter Beck. Yeah, so Peter Beck recently, and there's this. Looks like it'll be an hour tracking dish on one of our remote sites. So, there we go. For those of you that can't see, I can also make that bigger for you. Here it's bigger for you. Also, I did see someone, I don't engage with people that are that disillusioned, but I did want to mention, that's great if you think, sure, you can have the opinion that you think NASA might be lying, but don't forget this is an entirely private-funded rocket company that has nothing to do with NASA at this point. They will be launching some CubeSats for NASA, but currently the first 3 flights are entirely on their own dime, so either they're wasting an awful lot of money developing carbon fiber composite pressure vessels and fuselages and 3D printed rocket engines and some very advanced avionics and the launch pad and the whole range crew and the FAA permissions and the ground accessories and ground and all the engineers they have to pay and all the people in the flight control and all the people that have to manage the rest of the systems. Man, they're just wasting their money, aren't they? There clearly isn't a business case for them. Too bad. Maybe they'll... Man, darn it. I wish they knew it was all fake. Have I thought about writing a book? Yes, I have. I've actually been reached out to by a couple different, or by 2 different publishers. I will someday when I have time, but at this point I want to keep growing the platform on YouTube. I just feel there's a lot of value in that. Let's see, just making sure. So yeah, so we'll see. We'll wait. Yeah, sorry, I'm being spicy today. I have worked my absolute butt off lately, guys. I seriously spend like 12 hours a day scripting and researching and getting ready. I shot a 34-minute long video that will be coming out, I think, Monday or Tuesday for you guys. It's totally done. It's in the books. I'm working on another probably like 20-minute long video that I'm almost done scripting that I hope to shoot tomorrow so that I can edit it Saturday or Sunday, Monday. I've just been losing my mind, but it's a good thing because I'm really enjoying myself. Hi from Brazil! Do I have a model Electron? Unfortunately, I do not. Also, sorry, Jeff Popio. I never want to hold again. Do you know who is the launch director who said this? I don't. I did know at one point. I think it might be in their like store. Let's explore it together, shall we? Let's pull this up. Let's take a look at their place. I believe it's under shop. Because they had a shirt that says, I never want to hold again. Maybe it's on their YouTube channel. YouTube. Let's just find... let's just find their YouTube. This is their YouTube. I don't know. I don't remember who said it. Someone will know. I'll let you guys find it. That'll be your fun thing for the week. I don't know. I'm gonna just keep this up here. Yeah, Chris Harris, I do agree that children's books, that's what I initially was looking at, but I think I'd be looking at some kind of nonfiction rocket book of some kind. I should ask Lisa if Rocket Lab has models of Electron. I think Ollie Braun has looked at Electron model rockets, and I hope he does do that. I bet you anything Rocket Lab would help lend some schematics and details to make their Electron look cool. Yeah. I should be playing some KSP, says Ethan. She Troxel looks like things might get scrubbed. I'm just hanging in there until we find out. I mean, he says looking like it'll be an hour, and that was 12 minutes ago. Man, I really don't want to sit here for like another hour with you guys. I don't want to be here for an hour with you guys. All right. I never want to hold again. Let's see what that says. I'm going to just pop this open here. Because I think...
Flight VMS mission coord.
Go ahead, VMS.
Do you want any hold points?
Say again.
Do you want any hold points?
I didn't get you. One more time.
Do you want any hold points? As in, do you want to hold that T-minus 18 or 20?
I never want to hold again.
I love that guy's voice so much. If that was my voice, I would be the happiest person. So it still didn't tell us who actually said it. I apologize. Oh, I keep going back to that. We want Twitter. Okay. You wish I could do a video about the Brazilian Space Agency and the 2003 explosion of the VLS program. Hey, Jose, I will look into that. I honestly don't know that much about the Brazilian Space Agency, and I don't know too much about the explosion of the VLS program. But I agree. I definitely want to be expanding and reaching out and figuring out, more to do with other companies and agencies. Absolutely. You could premiere the rough cut of one of the upcoming videos while we're waiting. Oh, that's interesting. We could do a little teaser. How about this? I will play the first 5 minutes of an upcoming video for you guys. You guys are going to get second dibs. Of course, the Discord and my Patreon supporters have already seen this video. But I'm going to pull this up. That's what we're going to do. We're going to watch a few minutes of an upcoming video. You guys get it here first, or second-ish. Let's see, where's the final? All right, I'm gonna pull this baby up. We're gonna watch me teach you guys an exciting video that's coming out this week. So, all right, you guys ready? Here we go. I'm gonna make myself very tiny. There I am. Here we go. Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Space is hard. There's a reason we use rocket science as a benchmark for anything extremely difficult. I, for one, champion all things space and eagerly await every single upcoming space event. But in order to move forward, we'd better have a look back at some past failures and see what we've learned from them. What better way to do that than to watch some of the biggest booms in spaceflight history? But as always on my channel, this isn't just some random compilation of crazy explosions. Nope, sorry. You're gonna learn something. I'll be teaching you what went wrong and other random facts about each mission so we can learn while we watch some fireworks. After all, mistakes are only mistakes if you don't learn anything from them. That being said, it's time for some of the biggest booms in rocket history.
3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. One small step for man.
Now before I start, I do want to mention that I omitted any mission that had loss of life. Those are tragedies, and they need to be treated in a way that honors and respects the lives lost, and the families, friends, and the people who deal with that reality every day. After you watch this video, let me know if you want me to do any more of these. You know, maybe biggest face palms, or funniest moments, or closest calls. Maybe all of them. Let me know. Oh, and one last thing. These are in order of what I think are spectacular and not necessarily in the order of actual magnitude of explosions. Okay, enough talking. Here we go. Real quick, I'm going to mention that my computer has some issue. It is graded in real life, but for some reason it has an issue when it pulls from the screen. It like desaturates it and stuff. So good comment. Yes, it is graded in real life, but you are not seeing it graded. For some reason it looks all wonky. But let's go till we'll go for a few, and you guys tell me what you think. Just for those of you that are tuning in right now, we're waiting for Rocket Lab. They still haven't officially scrubbed, but they're getting close to the end of their launch window. So instead, for fun, I'm showing you guys a sneak peek of the video that I'm going to be launching next week. We're going to watch the first, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 minutes of it or something. Yeah, so we're having a little mini watch party while we wait for fun, because why not? That's what we do around here for fun. So just keep watching, enjoy, and let me know if you guys have any questions. But I'm just going to kind of sit here and watch and read your stuff. So, and just remember, yeah, this shirt is available in my web store, by the way, if you guys want one. They're like one-off prints, so they're kind of expensive, but I think they're hilarious and totally worth it. So, but you can get them if you are that inclined to do so. So let's start off with perhaps my favorite booms to come out of recent space history. Of course, I'm talking about SpaceX's landing attempts with their Falcon 9 rockets. We saw plenty of rapid, unscheduled disassemblies as SpaceX honed in on the once thought impossible, propulsively landing and reusing an orbital-class liquid-fueled booster, starting with their first attempt at landing on their autonomous spaceport drone ship on January 10th, 2015. After a successful stage separation, the booster homed in on its landing platform. It fired up its center Merlin engine to perform the final landing burn. Whoa! Okay, what went wrong there? The booster ran out of the hydraulic fluid that powers the grid fins, which steer the booster through the atmosphere, just moments before it touched down. They then remained stuck in a fixed position, causing the booster to go out of control just before touching down. The engine gimbal couldn't correct for this, and it made the booster come in all sorts of wonky. And don't forget, while watching this, the ship it's trying to land on is the size of what some people call a football field. America. And the booster is 45 meters or 150 feet tall. In other words, that's a 15-story building crashing down on the deck. Whoa. But this was a great first attempt at landing. I mean, after all, they hit their target from over 100 kilometers or 60 miles in altitude after traveling over 7,500 kilometers or about 4,500 miles an hour while going about 300 kilometers or 185 miles downrange from the launch site. The next attempt was also pretty spectacular for mission CRS-6 on April 14th, 2015. Their second attempt at landing on the drone ship got even closer. It even kisses the deck and then touchdown! Yeah! Yeah. Oh, wait. No. Wait. No. 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 Oh, gosh. That one was so close, it hurts. Oh, and watch this. This is my favorite part. Check out that tiny little nitrogen thruster, trying its absolute hardest to keep the Falcon 9 upright. Ah, you almost had it, little buddy. Just before touchdown, the center Merlin 1D engine that performs the landing burn experienced stiction, a word I was unfamiliar with until I heard it in this context. In other words, it had a sticky throttle valve. This caused a delay in throttle inputs, which made the rocket have too much horizontal velocity as it touched down and subsequently tipped over. There are a few other great booms as SpaceX figured out how to land the Falcon 9. I definitely suggest watching their hilarious video titled How Not to Land an Orbital Class Rocket. And don't forget, these were experimental attempts at doing something people thought was actually impossible. The primary mission on these flights were still perfectly successful. So these are probably the biggest boom to success ratio ever, since it was just a bonus if they landed, which they now do all the time with great reliability. On June 11th, 1957, the United States Air Force launched their first ever Atlas missile, the Convair SM-65A, from Launch Complex 14 in Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. Like all rockets in this video, it was, of course, uncrewed. The first version of the Atlas only had 2 engines, instead of the famous 3-engine Atlas that had that sustainer engine and that stage-and-a-half design, like the one that eventually put John Glenn into orbit less than 5 years later. Engine start went great, followed by a successful let go of the launch and release system.
The missile was launched successfully, and the flight proceeded according to plan for some distance. During this time, the missile was stable in pitch, yaw, and roll.
All was going well until T plus 26 seconds when the B2 engine suddenly lost thrust, followed seconds later by the B1 engine. The Atlas tumbled end over end with a maximum altitude of 2,900 meters or 9,800 feet before being remotely terminated by the range safety officer, who I swear had to be sleeping on the job. I mean, look how long they let it fly before they finally hit the bye-bye button. Come on, any day now, Steve. Steve? Steve? Any day, come on, hey, Steve? Steve! Steve! Finally, jeez.
Debris from the missile fell on the test base and in the sea just offshore from the base.
So what went wrong? Well, it turns out hot exhaust gas from the thrust section was destroying the propellant lines. And the remedy to this was just a heat shield, which protected the engine area. Although this was a pretty big, scary looking boom, since this was the first ever flight of the Atlas, it was actually considered a pretty big success. On December 12th, 1959, the United States awaits its 6th attempt at launching their newest and most advanced rocket at the time, the Titan I. The Titan I was the US's first multi-stage intercontinental ballistic missile. This was also the first time the Air Force would be utilizing their brand new launch pad, Launch Complex 16 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. The rocket was fully fueled up, and upon engine ignition, the rocket suddenly began shaking pretty excessively. So excessively, in fact, that it actually set the flight termination system off while it was still on the pad. There goes that brand new Launch Complex 16. But actually, believe it or not, the launch pad became operational again less than 2 months later. It must have been thanks to those wonderful little sprinklers gently hosing down the hellish landscape that once was a launch pad. We'll watch one more. Convair, the manufacturer of the original Atlas rocket, was developing an advanced upper stage for their rockets. This upper stage was the first production rocket stage to use liquid hydrogen for its fuel. The Centaur upper stage would go on to do incredible things, and is arguably the best upper stage in the world still to this day. As a matter of fact, as of January 2018, it had been used on 245 missions. But on March 2nd, 1965, it wouldn't get a chance to spread its wings. Or I guess I could say it didn't get a chance to fire its engine. Engine ignition looked good, but then right after liftoff, So what on earth happened here? Well, at T plus 0.88 seconds, there was a sudden main fuel valve closure, causing the entire Atlas booster to come straight back down on the pad. This created quite the boom. As a matter of fact, it was the biggest on-pad explosion at Cape Canaveral for over 5 decades. Until our next boom happened.
That's all you guys get for a teaser.
Yep, we're gonna go back to waiting for Twitter. This is the live stream where we watch a Twitter feed until we learn when this rocket's going to launch. I'm going to pull that up here in a second, and then I'm going to answer some more questions. I'm going to wait this one out until the end of the launch window. For those of you just now tuning in, we were just watching a quick preview of a video that I'm launching next week, Launching Hat. And we are also waiting for Rocket Lab, which is a cool new smallsat launcher that's launching out of New Zealand, an orbital class rocket called the Electron, capable of putting about 225 kilograms, 500 pounds, into low Earth orbit. They're launching 4 satellites and a payload demonstrator into a eventually 500 by 500 kilometer orbit at 85 degrees inclination, launching from LC-1 out of New Zealand. So it's really exciting. It's a really cool little rocket made out of carbon fiber, 3D printed engines, electronic fuel pumps. This is an exciting little rocket. You'll see a thing go by, and a link in the description to a video all about the Electron if you need to know more about it and kind of how it stacks up against other small sat launchers or against previous small sat launchers like the Falcon 1 or against even the Falcon 9 because it has a similar engine configuration. I have a video all about that. Check that out if you're curious. So the trailer of mine is on the home screen of YouTube. Gary, my thoughts on ULA's space launch system. Is it obsolete before it even launches? Are they being stubborn, not shutting the program down and redirecting the money? Let me make a small correction. It's not necessarily ULA's only. It's the prime contractor is actually NASA. Yes, ULA has a lot of skin in the game with almost the entire construction of the vehicle. But it extends beyond ULA. There's a lot of other contractors involved, so it's still safe to call it the NASA Space Launch System, or SLS. And unfortunately, I'm right on the fence here because we are really close to seeing it fly. And I know it's totally the sunk cost fallacy to say, like, we might as well just pay a little bit more to see it launch once. And unfortunately, that one launch say it would launch just once, that would just simply literally be a waste of money. But it's like, dang it, it's so close. It'd be so cool to see fly. But unfortunately, if it does not have much of a career in the future and much of a plan and a destination, I don't see any purpose in its existence. If it's not making things cheaper, or if it's not actually having a mission that is on the books, on the table, paid out, with a payload sitting ready for it to launch, I'm in the personal opinion that it's a rocket going to nowhere. And that really hurts me to say because 10 years ago, I loved it. You know, when it was Constellation and as it became SLS, I still thought it was really cool. It was a really powerful rocket. But we've come a long ways in 10 years. And unfortunately, it's just too slow and bureaucratic to be built and manufactured. And I think it's just too far behind now. It's using legacy technology, and it's not really pushing too many envelopes. But I still think that, I still think I want to see it fly once, but I do also think the money could be redirected through NASA to be used in better scientific payloads and more advanced funding and researching. So, it's hard to talk about. Michael Mobley, SpaceX has blown everything up. I hope you don't mean that in a negative tone because I would strongly disagree with that statement. They've only had 2 failures on their Falcon 9, which is so far like a 96.4% success rate, which is above average. And they show no signs of slowing that down, and they're changing the industry by being by far the cheapest launch provider by a factor of at least 2 right now, basically. Does the SLS factories produce ICBM parts as well? Are some of the parts interchangeable? So the SLS, no, really. I mean, honestly, the parts that are made for SLS have nothing to do with intercontinental ballistic missiles, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, but just period. The 4 main engines on it are 3 of... Basically, here's what the SLS is. Ready? It's a space shuttle. Take the solid rocket boosters, add an extra segment to them, so they're, instead of being 4 segment solid rocket boosters, they are 5 segments. So basically add an extra section here. Take the tank, basically stretch it, make it a little taller, up to about here. And then instead of having 3 of the SSMEs or RS-25 main engines that used to be on the back of the space shuttle that were reusable, remember, we still have a bunch, I think we have 16 of them sitting around that are operational. They have 4 of those basically stuck on the bottom of the fuel tank. And then they have currently an interim cryogenic upper stage, which is basically it's basically a Centaur upper stage that would be used on top of it for testing. But then the later blocks have a much bigger, more powerful upper stage. So it's basically just a space shuttle shuffled around a whole bunch that's cost like $20 billion between it and the Lockheed Martin, the Orion capsule, which all that stuff, guys, is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not totally poo-pooing it, because it could absolutely serve a purpose, 100%. If we said, hey, here's our space station that's going to, our orbital space station that's going to have this X, Y, and Z, and it's going to send humans out to Mars. We're going to order up 7 SLS rockets to deliver all those payloads, to do an on-orbit assembly and some kind of cool nuclear propulsion that's going to get humans out to Mars. Absolutely sure, let's use SLS. It's a great use for a heavy launch vehicle, you know, that's great. But, and you know, it has a big payload fairing, so maybe it could fit something on it that a Falcon Heavy couldn't do. But until I see a really strong in-paper contract with an actual plan for its use, it is, in my opinion, unfortunate. Bad rockets suck when they blow. Irony from Chris Harris. Twisted, no real question, just wanted to say thanks and throw some cash your way. Thank you, Twisted Whispers. You guys are great. Thank you guys very much. Thank you guys. That's funny. In our Discord, someone has a really funny image Loopy shared. That's basically ULA in a nutshell. That's funny. Oh, I did not know that. That's hilarious. So yeah, am I looking forward to the first man movie? Yes. Also, can you show the namesake video for the rocket? The namesake video for this rocket. Do you want me to like show my video about? That's something we can just watch my video about the Rocket Labs, about the Electron until they're ready to go live. If you guys want, let me know. I don't know if we've actually heard T-minus 37. I haven't heard any real updates yet. Besides, they are. It potentially would be about 27 minutes. So it's on hold. Closes in 1 hour. It'll either launch within 1 hour or not at all today. So yeah, we'll see. We will see, guys. Do that. I need to get water. Yeah, if you guys want the Flight of the Conchords, unfortunately I can't play any copywritten music. That's why I write all the music in my videos. I've always just said, like, I'm not going to worry. As a matter of fact, my friend that helped me with that last video that I just put up, the scale of, you know, the size of rockets, like rockets in everyday places, he made a separate video for his channel. He purchased music so he could use it in the video, and it got pulled down by a copyright claim. Sorry, I just made a loud noise. That's the last thing I want. That is absolutely the last thing I want. So, in my opinion, I have always found it to be of high value for me to produce my own music, and just that way it won't be in any library that could ever get pulled. It's my music, so no one has like a database that's going to recognize it as something else. So, yeah. Tyann, thanks for sticking this out with us. Where do you get your footage from? There's a good set of, and you're welcome. There's a lot of good archives available. If you search around for them, I don't really know. I just start looking, and I look for the public domain files and things that you can find. Like NASA has a lot of great archives for a lot of old footage. You can just pull it from there, and it's public domain, so it's great. Yeah. So. What do I think about ISRO? I think they're plucky, and I think they're amazing. The Indian Space Agency, absolutely, they are great. Yeah, for sure. A copyright strike on copywritten music, or on licensed music that someone paid for, is insane. That's the last thing I want to worry about. So, how much do I like SpaceX? I like them a lot. They currently are my favorite, just by a little bit, just because they're hard to keep up with because they're so exciting in their change. And they're doing things that were impossible. That's the reason they're my favorite, but I'm not tribalistic. That doesn't mean I don't like other companies and other launch providers and other services. There's a lot of fish in the sea when it comes to spaceflight, and it's all exciting. It's all beneficial. And again, even though I just kind of poo-pooed a little bit the SLS, I will 100% drive down for the launch of SLS if it happens. And I will be there cheering it on. Absolutely. I will be covering it. I will be very excited about it. I personally think there are better use of NASA funding. I would like to see NASA using that money in other ways personally, but I still am very excited about it. So I'm very optimistic about BFR. Don't forget, they mentioned like Raptor engines, I think even at like the Dragon 2 press conference, which was like 2014. So I think for 4 years they've been talking about doing stuff. So I think Raptor and the BFR are almost further along than we think. So Zootron, and am I excited for the Neil Armstrong movie? Very much so. That looks amazing. I love Ron Howard's work. I love Ryan Gosling. He's so incredibly dreamy. This is going to be a lot of fun. That would be interesting. Launch alert. Wanted to use my music. That is a potential option in the future. I need to get that stuff all figured out. Nathan, what do I think of railguns shooting into orbit? Ooh, Nathan, I don't want to go on this long. I literally talk about this probably 20 minutes, 10 minutes into this exact live stream. I talked about it for like 7 minutes or something. I hate to not give you your money's worth, Nathan. I just don't want to waste everyone else's time talking about it. The long run is, and I'll probably just ask you to look back at it when I'm done live streaming. But long story short, there's a reason that's not being done. Anything that's not being done, there's a reason for it. You'd think a company like Rocket Lab or SpaceX or NASA or whoever would utilize something if it's viable. And the reason it's not viable is basically because in order for it to be of any use, you have to inject a ton of velocity. And starting at sea level, launching really quickly or gaining a lot of acceleration just would rip the vehicle apart from aerodynamic forces. So low resolution B-roll, consider scaling it down. Sometimes the full screen low res looks hard in the eyes. I'll listen to that feedback. Thank you. Shay, always bugged me that telescopes point at the wall. Should point off screen. But off screen is just further into my house. That's actually at least pointing at a window. Better or worse? You tell me. I mean, it's literally pointing at a window. The perspective might not look like it, but it is. So, I mean, we'll try. Nathan Billington, love your videos. Oh yeah, you already said that. I would, yeah. I'll think about it depending on the footage. There is some footage that is pretty painful like that. You're right. Oh yeah, Rush was a good movie. No, he didn't do that one, did he? Maybe it was Rush. That was a good movie though. Yeah, you're welcome, Matthew Potts. I'm very excited to be covering New Zealand's little space program. Although, don't forget, this is actually a U.S. company, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, just period. It's owned entirely by constituents in New Zealand, but it's actually a U.S. American aerospace company. That's right in their description. Yeah, they're based out of... So look at their website, Rocket Lab USA. That should kind of tell you something. But of course, that's not to discredit the Kiwis at all. I'm very excited about this, and I'm very excited about the gorgeous launch pad. I'm very excited about the Southern Hemisphere's first successful orbital flight. It's great. I mean, it's really cool. But technically, just being pedantic, it's not actually New Zealand company. Yeah. So there, unfortunate. Have I ever slept in the suit without mask? Of course, no. I have not slept in the suit. There's no way. Unless it was really cold. If it was really cold, maybe I would. As just like extra insulation, but no. No, yeah, no thanks. Am I live streaming the Falcon 9 launch on June 29th? Maybe. I'm going to try. I am in Paris. I'm bringing my laptop. I'm bringing a small streaming software. If I can, I will try to live stream it with the Eiffel Tower in the background. I'm going to try. And I'm doing that just for you guys because I think it'd be a fun challenge. Nathan, what do I think of railguns being used to bore tunnels? Never thought of it. I haven't had enough time to let that process to even form some kind of valid opinion on it. But yeah, yes, that's what I think. Oh, you're right. That's so cool. I love that. Yeah, Neil Armstrong was in Apollo 13. That's very cool. Cameoed on the deck of the carrier. Genius. Is CRS-15 attempting a landing? I don't think it is. I believe it's still one of the last Block 5 boosters. But let's look that up for ourselves, shall we? Let's go to reddit.com/r/SpaceX. I'm going to make this big enough for you guys. We're going to learn. I always go here, and it's reused. And let's see. Normally, launch campaign thread. We can learn. This is always great. Second stage unknown. Dragon unknown. Landing unknown currently. Interesting. But it is a reused. It is a previously flown core. Most likely not. I don't think it'll be reused because they didn't reuse what was it, CRS-14. Even though even though it'd be landing back at the launch pad, they didn't reuse it. They just let it go bye-bye. So, if I send you my Falcon tattoo on Twitter, will you showcase it on this video? Maybe. That sounds a little fishy to me. I don't know, Matthew. Maybe. I'm not just a puppet for sale right now, but maybe. Maybe I will be. Maybe. Back to looking at Twitter. What is my favorite instrument? Well, I grew up playing the drums. I was like a jazz musician, played all through high school, played percussion, played the quads. I'm actually going to be playing in a marching band tomorrow morning for fun in our little town celebration. There's a parade. So my friend's coffee shop, he decided, shout out to Sidecar Coffee in Cedar Falls, Iowa. Andy, the owner, decided one day we're going to have a marching band. And it started with like 5 of us jokingly playing in a marching band. And now it's grown to like 30 people show up. And we march every year, and it's a pretty big joke. And I still love percussion. I still love playing drums. I don't have a drum set anymore, but that was what I did for years and years and years and years. But then I started playing guitar because it's kind of hard to write songs on drums. And I definitely love playing guitar. That's what I would go to. But if there was a drum set in my house, I would 100% be playing very, very often still. Can Boring Company bore vertical tunnels to use as a rocket launch silo? Is there any benefit? Alexander, that would basically be the same thing as a launch rail system. As soon as you get into you'd have to have it not bore. You'd have to have a tunnel that goes up to where it's basically indistinguishable or like undiscernible amount, something. Insert right word there. A very little amount of atmosphere, and then like open up the hatch and let the rocket out. Otherwise, if it's going any relative velocity that's worth any weight in gold, the second you open the hatch, all that pressure is going to be fighting to get back in and destroy the rocket. So it's really quite pointless, unfortunately. And yeah, the whole thing is rockets work pretty well because they go up first pretty slowly. So they're not fighting the atmosphere that hard at first, and they kind of gradually gain speed. So by the time they're ready to kind of they get out of a lot of the atmosphere relatively quickly, and it's not punishing them very much. And so if you get a lot of acceleration right off the pad, you're kind of wasting your time and wasting your energy fighting the atmosphere. So there's a certain acceleration that makes sense, basically. So, yeah. that I did not get to see the Humanity Star before it deorbited. Am I going to make a video about Space Force? I am waiting basically to find out more about Space Force before I have any kind of real objective opinion on it, because so far we know almost nothing about it besides its name and its intent, but I don't have any other... you guys know me, I like to really do as deep dives in stuff as I possibly can. And I can't do anything but an absolute surface level regurgitation of a newsletter right now if I were to talk about Space Force. So, yeah. If I like percussion and drums, look up Mickey Hart from the Grateful Dead. He's been all over the world playing different types of percussion instruments. That's really cool, actually. I will do that, Anne. Thank you. That's a great idea. Maybe, sorry, talk to, I don't know what you're talking about, Neuropilot, I don't know what I need to talk to EJ about privately. Give me a little more rundown. Matthew Potts, RL is only a U.S. company, Rocket Lab, so it can get U.S. government contracts. Can't remember the actual law. Probably helps for investment, too. Peter Beck is 100% Kiwi. He is 100% Kiwi. So is the rest of the fund, basically, that funds Rocket Lab is entirely Kiwi-backed. So I'm not discrediting Rocket Lab by having their headquarters and be based out of the U.S. That probably, a lot of that is some trickery to kind of get around the ITAR laws and to have easier granted, launch license and capabilities that would only be available to a U.S. company. So, yeah, I don't doubt it. You're probably right. But, yeah, but still, regardless of where it resides or whatever, go Rocket Lab. Go space. Go New Zealand. Go everyone. Hey there. Thank you very much. Parnava Debnath. Thank you. Oh, talk to EJ about it. Okay, I would love to. I think that'd be worth me talking to EJ about. Space Force sounds like it would break treaties. It could, we do have treaties to not weaponize space. But the only thing I know is that basically, currently the Air Force launches stuff into space all the time. So does like the NOAA and, the NROL, the National Reconnaissance. So I see that probably is just taking over those missions and being under one roof. It just might make sense. I don't know. I don't know what the restructure looks like. So the countdown on the stream reset to 1 minute after the hour. I will check that too. We will see. They're probably still going for it. I haven't heard any updates. Looking like it'll be an hour still was 47 minutes ago from Peter Beck. I'll make this maybe big enough that you might be able to see it up in this top section. People need to see me, maybe. Let's see if you sent it on Twitter. All right, Matthew Taylor, you got it. That is pretty sweet. You're right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Matthew Taylor's Falcon tattoo. That's bold. That's bold of you. Luckily, you didn't get the mistake. The Falcon Heavy tattoo, or the Falcon Heavy emblem that accidentally got given out to people at the Kennedy Space Center. That was actually just it was a rooster. So I'm glad that that's not what happened to you. That's a good looking tattoo. Welcome to the show. Here's $2 donated towards sending Jackie Boy into space. Let's send Jackie Boy into space. Why not? I don't know if we have much better to do right now. So, yeah. And we're back to Twitter Watch, waiting for some kind of update. Again, for those of you, for some reason, tuning in just now, we are still waiting for Rocket Lab to launch their third ever Electron rocket, their first commercial launch of their small sat launcher, the Electron rocket, which, again, some quick stats on it, 17 meters tall, which is 55 feet tall. It can launch 225 kilograms into low Earth orbit, an orbit of about 500 by 500 kilometers. Today's launch is actually about exactly that, 500 by 500 kilometers, sorry, however you want to say it. I know I've got like an accent on that. And an 85-degree inclination, launching 4 satellites, 4 small sats, and 1 payload demonstrator that's like a deorbiting device thing for small sats and stuff like that. There we go. Michael Julian. Oh, we have more. Sorry. Jason Ballas. Am I going to the next Falcon Heavy launch later this year? I hope to. I really hope to. I really enjoyed the first Falcon Heavy launch, and I will do everything in my power to see the second one. It just depends on my schedule. Yeah, there's a lot that I want to see in Florida this year. There's going to be the launch of Bort will probably be a cool one to see, an exciting launch. Anything with the first Dragon 2, which I think will be Abort. Either that or it might be the demonstrator. DM1. I'm sure my Twitter or my Discord will know. All right, I will talk about those in a second. Loopy, good idea. But yeah, that's I hope to see at least like 2 or 3 launches this year. Fingers crossed, we'll see. Michael, Julie, in my opinion on relatively space 3D printed launch vehicles. Oh, I absolutely love them. I've been meaning to reach out. I'm going to be doing a dedicated video on them. I met one of the founders at Yuri's night in LA. I'm shorting on his name right now. Really nice guy. I'm really excited about what they're working on. I mean, I'm going to dedicate a whole video. I'm definitely going to have a sit-down interview with them. Very cool company. Can't wait to reach out to them. Twisted Whisper 63, that is a great question. The question is, ignoring the fact that it would be over land, would launching from on top of Pikes Peak, a mile high, or another mountain be very beneficial? Pikes Peak is almost 3 miles high, I believe. It's 14,000. It's a 14,000 foot mountain. Denver, Colorado is a mile high, 5,000 feet. So I think it's almost 3 miles high. Honestly, it would offer below 1% advantage. There's a new tweet. Let's find out what the update is. Still holding. Window remains open until 4:30 UTC, which is 50 more minutes, maybe? I'm really bad at like time conversions. All right, we're waiting for you guys. We're waiting. Can you guys read that? I don't know if that's like way too small for your screen. But yeah. All right, we have a little bit longer to wait. No, there is not a lot of advantage launching from a higher altitude. I need to do a video about why not launch from a higher altitude. I need to do a video why not launch from the equator, and a video about why not do air launching, because altitude doesn't matter nearly as much as horizontal velocity. It takes so much more energy just because you get out. Say you launch from space. Say you launched static, like not moving, but 62 miles, 100 kilometers up, straight up from here. You would still have to go 17,500 miles an hour or 28,000 kilometers an hour in order to get into orbit. So the altitude, there are advantages. Like you can use a more vacuum optimized engine by launching higher. You obviously can get some kind of kick sometimes in having a more vacuum optimized engine and having velocity added in the launch vehicle or whatever, the launch platform, things like that. There are some advantages to launching from a higher altitude or higher off the ground and things like that. But it's at the end of the day, is it worth that than just making a slightly bigger rocket? Because you have all these other things to deal with. Like, say you're trying, you can think about it from a payload standpoint. Say you want to launch 20,000 kilograms into low Earth orbit. Okay, that's going to take a Falcon 9 sized rocket from the ground. So now say you can gain like a little bit of advantage from being at a slightly higher altitude. So, yay, now we maybe lobbed off 1% of the Falcon 9 or something, So now we are still making the same Falcon 9. We have to launch it over, we have to now do all these other things. We can't do a Falcon 9 sized vehicle with like an airplane, because that airplane would be like 3 times bigger even than the world's largest airplane that they're working on to do air launches, straddle launch. Now you have to worry about getting it up into the mountains or whatever. Like, it's just not worth than just adding a little more to it. Yeah. Pike Peak is 14,115 feet tall. You live right here. Oh, and $5 to hear me say shenanigans. Thank you, Joshua. I take it by your uniform you must be in the Air Force there in Colorado Springs. Awesome. Well, thank you for saying hi. Hope you love it out there in Colorado. Colorado's fantastic. Parnava. I hope I'm saying that close to right. Forgot to enter the message. Love from India. Well, thank you, India. Thank you. I had a cameo. India was in my most recent video with. We had the Taj Mahal with a Delta IV Heavy. standing next to it. So, trippin'. What was the first company you found out Elon owned? PayPal was the first time I'd ever heard of Elon Musk. But I think I knew about Tesla actually before I knew that he owned PayPal. Like I knew PayPal. I used PayPal in 1998 on eBay. Maybe 99. Definitely late 90s. So it was probably pretty early in the game. I was in junior high or middle school, if you want to call it that. At the time, I remember my first time on eBay, using eBay, but I don't remember what I bought. I was at my friend Scott Johnson's house, and we bought something on eBay using PayPal. Yeah, it was exciting. So that's the first company I knew of Elon Musk's, but at the time I had no idea he was involved or a co-founder of it. But I definitely remember when Tesla became kind of a thing. Because I'm a huge car guy. So when Tesla, started putting electric motor and electric powertrains into Lotus Elises, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So I was a pretty big fan of that right away. And so that's when I first heard about Elon Musk for sure, though. Sea launch was a thing. It was a thing. You're right. Yeah, Hank Calder says, as someone who works in mining camps, you can tell the logistics are a nightmare of working and delivering things around mountains. So that's another. Can you imagine hiking a rocket up a mountain? Just sounds terrible. Good idea, Robert. Wait, what did I miss here? Let's watch my Rocket Lab videos while we wait. I would do that. You have not missed the launch. We're still waiting. Rocket Lab currently is in a hold. They have about, 45 minutes left in their window. So we're still waiting for Rocket Lab. Yeah. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to actually, I think this will be fun. Let's go ahead and let's watch the Rocket Lab video quick. That just kind of makes sense. The video I did about Rocket Lab. I'm going to pull it up here. YouTube.com/everydayastronaut. You know what's so crazy? I realized if I watch my own videos on YouTube, I will see ads. To me, that's insane. That doesn't seem smart. Smart. I am so smart. SMRT. Okay. Let's pull this baby up. See an ad. I don't want to hear this because what if it's like copywritten or something and I'm gonna get some kind of. Okay, hold on. Oh no! What am I? All right. I should have just pulled up the original file. Okay, here we go. We're gonna real quick watch this while we're waiting. And I'm gonna make sure I'm keeping close dibs on this. So here we go. Here's everything you need to know about Rocket Lab. Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut. What rocket has 9 engines on its first stage, is built by a privately owned aerospace company, uses the most advanced manufacturing techniques available, is one of the cheapest rides to space, and has a body that's almost entirely made out of carbon fiber? If you said SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket, you'd be wrong. Its body's made out of aluminum. Move. Okay, I'm making the decision. We're not going to watch it on YouTube. It has like ads and stuff. I'm going to pull up the original file. I'm sorry, guys. I can't be trusted with the internet. Internetin'. Alright, let me find it. Where are you and why can't I find you? Rocket Lab? Electron? There we go. Let me find the final file here. Find the final. That is looking like it's the final. Alright, here we go. I'm going to pull this up again. Let's give this another try. Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut. What rocket has 9 engines on its first stage, is built by a privately owned aerospace company, uses the most advanced manufacturing techniques available, is one of the cheapest rides to space, and has a body that's almost entirely made out of carbon fiber? If you said SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket, you'd be wrong. Its body's made out of aluminum. Move over, SpaceX. There's a new kid on the block. Well, maybe don't move over, but pull up a chair to the orbital class rocket table. That's right, Rocket Lab has officially become the second privately owned rocket company to achieve orbit with their beautiful Electron rocket. Today we're going to give you a deep rundown on some of the exciting features about the Electron. Then we're going to compare it to other rockets, including other upcoming smallsat rockets and past smallsat rockets like SpaceX's Falcon 1. We're even going to throw in a Falcon 9 for comparison and see which rocket takes the cake for the cheapest ride to space with a cost per kilogram comparison. Oh, and I mean it when I say cake. I had this made for the winner. Let's get started.
3, 2,
Fun fact,
1,
I actually did buy 2 cakes in case the failure of that one didn't look right cinematically. So I was very nervous because like those cakes were like $20 and I actually purposefully dropped it. And yeah, I was nervous like that it wasn't gonna, you know, like I'd drop it before I got it into a camera frame. Yeah, so it was a $40 gag. I hope it was worth it.
and liftoff of one small step for man. 4, 3,
Hey Cameron.
Ignition.
On January 21st, 2018, Rocket Lab officially became the second private company to make it into orbit on private funds. Hey Philip, thank you very much. Hi, I hope you're having a fantastic, Saturday morning, based on, I believe that's Norwegian funds. Hi, and thank you. I hope you're having a great one. And the first private company to launch something into orbit from a private launch site, launching their Electron rocket from their gorgeous launch pad located on the North Island of New Zealand on the Mahia Peninsula. The mission was cheekily named Still Testing, a fun follow-up to their first test flight of the Electron rocket called It's a Test, and their upcoming launch will be called It's Business Time. That's the name of this launch that we're waiting for right now! What a fun experience we're having. Real quick, Adrian, I did a video about SSTOs, but have I heard of Arca Aerospace Company, Haas2CA? I think you need to rewatch that video, and I'm going to shake whatever this is in my hand that I've been fiddling with, because I'm a fiddler. You better check your video again, because I talk about the Arca Aerospace Company's Haas2CA. I don't want to bash them too much, but I think their concept is... what's the right word? Silly. It's... to me, if you're going to have an SSTO, it's pointless unless it's reusable, because otherwise you're just giving yourself a big mass payload fraction. Like you're taking a huge payload capability hit by doing an SSTO. So you might as well add like a small upper stage or even a kick stage and like triple your payload capacity, and it's just all sorts of weird to me. I don't get it. I don't get it. There you go. I love that. Not only was the mission a perfect success on just their second attempt at an orbital flight, but they even stowed away and tested a secret kick stage that allows for flexibility in satellite deployment. It all went off perfectly and is incredibly impressive. And to top it all off, Rocket Lab went even one step further and included another secret item inside their payload fairing, a little treat for all of us humans down here on Earth called Humanity Star. Okay, so they basically launched a disco ball that would be highly... Wait, Stealth Dino, what do you mean face reveal at 125,000? Is my face not... Can you tell I'm wearing a mask? How'd you know? I have a very realistic mask artist maker that makes masks for me. Makes masks Mondays for me, Mom. And yeah, I've never actually shown my actual face. So maybe at 125, maybe I will. Tell your friends. Reflective, and due to its spin, would create a beautiful blinking shooting star when viewed under the right conditions here on Earth. Unfortunately, it'll only stay in orbit for a couple of months after it launched, so by the time you're watching this, it'll probably be too late to see it. Actually, as I'm editing this, I just found out it deorbited today, Thursday, March 22nd, 2018. Rest in pieces, Humanity Star. The company is already full of fun, young, and fresh aerospace culture. Again, akin to SpaceX. For instance, they already made t-shirts from this quote.
As in, do you want to hold that T-minus 18 or 20?
I never want to hold again.
Okay, now before we get into the awesome Electron rocket that completed this exciting feat, let's do a quick summary on who Rocket Lab is. Rocket Lab is a United States aerospace manufacturer who's funded entirely by private investment from backers. Their CEO and CTO, Peter Beck, founded the company in 2006, and a fellow New Zealander named Mark Rocket. No, seriously, Mark Rocket was a seed investor and co-director from 2007 until 2011. What a fitting name. Rocket Lab's goal is to provide a dedicated launch vehicle for the growing small satellite and CubeSat market. Typically, smaller satellites have to hitch a ride on a bigger rocket, and they take a back seat in priority as well. A good example of a secondary smallsat payload getting the short end of the stick is SpaceX's fourth Falcon 9 mission, CRS-1, which launched in October of 2012. SpaceX launched their first contracted Dragon capsule stuffed with supplies to the International Space Station, but they had a secondary payload of an Orbcomm satellite that weighed only 172 kilograms or 379 pounds. One of the 9 Merlin engines on the first stage of the Falcon 9 failed on ascent, which resulted in the secondary payload failing to enter its proper orbit. And due to International Space Station visiting vehicle safety rules, SpaceX wasn't allowed the chance to boost the secondary payload into its proper orbit, which resulted in its loss and re-entry just 4 days later. So Rocket Lab's business case is to cater to this market that previously hasn't had very good options other than ride sharing. Rocket Lab plans to launch around 50 times a year, and they say they're licensed to fly every 72 hours, which is 120 times a year, making for great flexibility and opportunities for these smaller payloads. With this increased launch cadence, Rocket Lab also says they have an incredibly agile approach to booking a flight. Rocket Lab can fulfill a launch in weeks rather than months or years for more traditional aerospace companies. Now we're talking. Speaking of flexibility, they can also launch their Electron rocket from Cape Canaveral in Florida or the Pacific Spaceport Complex in Alaska if the customer would need those options. So you might be asking, what the heck has Rocket Lab been up to since their founding in 2006? Well, in 2009, Rocket Lab became the first private company in the Southern Hemisphere to reach space with their Atia-1 sounding rocket. This thing was tiny, basically a giant hobby store model rocket, only capable of launching 2 kilograms or 4.4 pounds into space on a quick suborbital hop. After just one launch, Rocket Lab decided to move on to the next thing. The rocket that followed is the Electron, and it's awesome. Here's a quick rundown. The Electron is a 2-stage orbital rocket which uses RP-1 fuel and liquid oxygen for its propellant, which is really common among rockets such as Russia's Soyuz rocket, the Saturn V, SpaceX's Falcon 9, ULA's Atlas V, the first stage of orbital ATK's Antares, and many, many more. The Electron uses 9 Rutherford engines on the first stage and 1 vacuum-optimized Rutherford engine on the upper stage. This is the same configuration as SpaceX, who uses 9 of their Merlin engines on the first stage and 1 vacuum-optimized Merlin engine on the upper stage of their Falcon 9 rocket. The Rutherford is an awesome little engine. Instead of using gas generator turbopumps, which burn fuel and oxidizer to pressure feed the combustion chambers, like virtually all other rocket engines ever, the Rutherford uses electric.
Rocket Lab's live? Rocket Lab's live? Where is it? Hold on. Oh, they're live? Okay, well, so for those of you tuning in, we are waiting right now for, this is the 50th time I've had to say this because we have been in like a 4-hour live stream now. My throat's starting to hurt. We are waiting for Rocket Lab to do their 3rd ever mission. Rocket Lab's a new aerospace company who is launching their Electron rocket, which is a orbital class small sat launcher capable of putting 225 kilograms into low Earth orbit. They launched from New Zealand from their gorgeous launch pad LZ-1 on Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. And we're waiting for them. They've been in a hold, kind of trying to make sure everything's okay before they attempt today's launch. They do have a full 2-week window to get these 4 satellites and 1 demonstrator payload into orbit today, so, or in those 2 weeks. So we're just kind of waiting. They're not actually live, are they? Oh, okay. We'll go back to watching my other thing, I guess. 1 second here. Let me find it. We'll just keep. So what we're doing instead, while we're waiting for them to go live properly, we are watching. I did a video already all about Rocket Lab, so we're just catching everyone up because I've been live streaming for like 4 hours. So at this point, I'm just trying to catch everyone up on who, what, where, why, when Rocket Lab is by rewatching
This
the
is
video.
an update from Rocket Lab Mission Control. The Electron is out on the pad and healthy, but due to problems with our downrange ground station in the Chatham Islands that we've been unable to recover, We are scrubbed for the day. Weather over the next few days begins to deteriorate, so we'll be evaluating our options as for when the next attempt may be, and we'll provide an update via social media. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon.
I even wore my Electron shirt. It says Electron on it, and it has New Zealand on it, and I wore it for today's launch, and now it's okay, guys. It's honestly okay. They can't launch without a ground tracking station, so no big deal. Honestly, this is spaceflight. Welcome to spaceflight. This stuff happens all the time. I'm very happy the vehicle's healthy. By the way, we can now look at this. Do you see how this is actually a black rocket, but it has so much ice on the liquid oxygen tanks that it appears to be white and black. So they actually had it fully fueled, and it was a waiting launch. That's a bit of a shame. I can't wait. I hope we hear really soon what's going to happen. I'm going to tweet real quick. At Rocket Lab is called Rocket Lab's launch is called off for the day. We'll be patiently waiting, won't we, for their exciting launch of their third Electron rocket. It's business time. The exciting launch of the third. That's a dumb tweet, but there it is. Now you know. Scrub for the day. Well, we tried. I'm glad we stuck with it, everybody. I am absolutely sick of talking. I've been talking now for like 4 hours. I gotta preserve my voice. So, I just want to say thank you, guys. Thank you. There was like so many of you guys stuck it out with me. That really means a lot. I was right here with you guys, and I can't wait for Rocket Lab to give it another shot. I hope we hear really soon, when their next opportunity is. We need to get that ground station, that tracking station up and running. That's a huge, very vital part of a launch. And I will be here. Make sure you're following me on Twitter so you can get updates about this type of stuff. I'm very active on Twitter. I'm pretty active on Instagram as well. If you're on Instagram, that's also, again, remember where I originally resided. A real quick reminder, I am going to have a quick meetup in Paris if you are in France or somewhere near it in a week from like yesterday. So I think on the 28th. I'll have to look. Stay tuned again to Twitter. If you live in France, find me on Twitter. Just search Everyday Astronaut. Even though my actual handle is Everyday Astronaut, it doesn't fit. Everyday Astronaut doesn't fit. I'll be doing a meetup there. I'll also be in Tucson, Arizona, July 5th-ish through the 9th-ish for Space Fest, which is it's like one of the biggest spaceflight events ever, period. It also has the most moonwalkers, where you can get their autographs and meet people that have the remaining moonwalkers, unfortunately. So I will be there as well. So if you're in the area, come say hi, please, everybody. Yeah, and I, of course, as always, huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you want to help support what I do, and if you want a chance to win a piece of flown space shuttle, because I will be reissuing flown space shuttle with in these cool displays with the certificate and everything, I'll be doing, I think, potentially 2 or 3 cool giveaways and a big giveaway at 1,000. I'm at like 600 Patreon supporters right now. When we get to 1,000, I have a big giveaway. And remember, the way I do these giveaways is here, I'll show you what the old space shuttle one looked like. So this was one of the, I gave away like 6 like this, or 5, I think, I don't remember, that were like this, and this is a flown piece of space shuttle from Space Shuttle Discovery. And I'll be giving away a few more pieces at 700, 800, 900, and a big thing at 1,000. And the way it works is however much money you've contributed throughout your support. So say you've contributed for $1 a month for a year, you'd have your name kind of put in the hat 12 times. So if you want to win a piece of flown space shuttle, please visit patreon.com/everydayastronaut. You guys are the reason that I can spend 60 hours a week in my job trying to make the highest quality, most in-depth videos I can. I spend, so I might crank out a video really quick sometimes, but in the background, I'm like literally, I spend hours watching documentaries still to try to really get a good grasp on the stuff so I can digest it all and hopefully spit it out in a way that you guys all work together. So, also, yeah, these are MOVA globes. They're just my favorite thing in the world, basically. And of course, Ollie Braun models. I have links in the descriptions. I am waiting for a link in the description for MOVA because I think we've talked about them being a sponsor on the show. So, yeah. Thank you, Philip, also. And yeah, MOVA globes, movainternational.com, I believe. MOVA. Check it out. And also thank you, Mr. Green, for your tip as well. So again, thank you guys for tuning in today. If it goes tomorrow, I hopefully will be able to launch. I will be traveling a ton in the next 2 weeks, though, starting like on Tuesday. So depending on the launch schedule, I may or may not be available. So I hope I am. I really hope I am. But again, thank you guys so much for your support. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys, and especially my Patreon supporters and all the people with their generous tips. So thank you guys. Stay tuned. I will have a big, old, fat, monster, huge, amazing video that's like 35 minutes long that I kind of premiered a teaser of on, I believe, Monday or Tuesday that I'll be releasing. So stay tuned for that, everybody. But that's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye. I think we all dreamt about going to space when we were kids. But when the space shuttle program ended in 2011, I discovered a void in my life. That emptiness led to a newfound obsession with space. A few years later, I wound up bidding on a Russian spacesuit as a joke. When the box arrived at my doorstep, my friends asked, "What are you going to do with a spacesuit?" The answer? What can't I do with a spacesuit? And that's how Everyday Astronaut was born. Since then, the suit hasn't left my side. It's even gone around the world with me. From remote villages in Myanmar, rockets, and spaceships. To beautiful fields in Norway. I'm fighting a cow to get a picture right now.
Here I am on vacation in the beautiful Norway with my beautiful boyfriend.
I even proposed to my wife in the suit at Machu Picchu in Peru. These days I work with leaders in the space industry to create fun and inspirational content. I've even been invited to different NASA facilities across the country, all for the sake of sharing my excitement with the world.
Hey there, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but NASA is doing some incredible...
This is church for us space nerds. This is where Gene Kranz was sitting when people first met him. This is with permission. I still don't know how. I love that I'm standing on something that says urine bags. This thing's gonna fly like a cat in heat. Whatever that means. That dog's gonna have a sore throat by the end of the day, I'll tell you that. Especially once he tries to explain to his friends that he just saw an astronaut flying majestically through the sky for an hour. This thing has officially become the bane of my existence. Everyday Astronaut's mission is to bring space down to Earth for everyday people, to communicate science through humor and imagination, but most importantly, to spark your curiosity, to want to find your place in the cosmos. Join my adventures as I seek to find out why exploring space is important, inspiring, and quite frankly, really, really neat. Show your support by visiting patreon.com/everydayastronaut.